We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
A new year dawns, and with it a new Congress replete with hopes, dreams and schemes for the future of politics in America. But will these elusive hopes fall by the wayside as so many other New Year's resolutions do? Welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio's special New Year's edition here on the Radio American Network. I'd like to say a special thank you to our listeners out on KSRM in Kenai, Alaska on 920 AM and 92.5 FM. Thanks for being part of the team. Remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com. You can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. A razor-thin majority for an incoming GOP-led House may throw up more problems than being in the minority party. What does the Republican Party under Kevin McCarthy hope to achieve, and what pitfalls will it face? We're very fortunate to be joined by our Liberty Nation special New Year extravaganza panel, senior analyst and longtime host of this here show, Mr. Timothy Donner, political pundit extraordinaire, Mr. Jeff Charles, and legal affairs editor, host of the excellent Uprising podcast and general man about town, Mr. Scott D. Casenza. Gents, I trust you all had a wonderful Christmas and are bracing for an exciting 2023. Now, Tim, I'd love to get started with you on this. How do you see the lay of the land for the 2023 Congress?
I see a lot of investigations. I see investigations into the Biden administration, see investigations into the Afghanistan conflict, investigations into the origins of COVID and what Fauci and company had to do with perhaps suppressing reality about the Wuhan lab. And most of all, we're going to see investigations about the Hunter Biden laptop, which more precisely should be called the Joe Biden laptop, because honestly, none of us should care if Hunter Biden is a pervert or a drug addict. What we should care about is what it reveals about his father, who happens to be the president of the United States. So it's going to be mostly investigations, because any legislation from the House will be dead on arrival at the Senate, or certainly at the White House as well, if it even comes to that. So I see mostly Mark jockeying for position for 2024.
That is actually a question I have for you specifically later, Tim, because I do want your opinion on that. Now, Jeff, I know that you have been most interested in these hearings and committees that Tim's just mentioned. Which ones in particular are capturing your attention?
Yeah, I mean, Tim kind of stole my thunder there. I mean, I think
Tim Donner, Thunder Stealer extraordinaire for 2023.
Biden laptop, because that's right, the Thunder Thief. But yeah, I mean, really, I bet. But this is going to really depend on if the president is implicated. Like, nobody cares if Hunter Biden is a crackhead. What they care about is if, his father was involved in whatever weird shenanigans he was doing overseas. But I think beyond that, I think that the investigations into the border issue is going to be, I think it's kind of a sleeper. Like, I think it's kind of flying under the radar, but I think what comes out about that is also going to be pretty significant. I mean, we just had a report out last week saying that Biden was very frustrated by the situation at the border, which is very ironic. But I think that, the fact that they've mishandled this crisis is going to play a lot into what happens in 2024. And of course, there's even the J6 committee. I mean, they're going to be investigating that. And, I know we probably shouldn't go into it too much, but I think that the investigations into the FBI, that might actually yield a lot of interesting information. And new on the docket is the Twitter files. What was the nature of the government's relationship with Twitter? We've been getting a lot of information on that from Elon Musk and Matt Taibbi, Barry Weiss, and a lot of other journalists. I expect to see a lot of coverage on this. I expect to see a lot of making hay about this. So I think we're going to be in for another tumultuous year in 2023.
Yeah, we had obviously when it was a Democrat-led Congress in both chambers, we had quite a few big tech people called in to testify in front of Congress. And for some reason, I actually think it's going to be the complete opposite coming up in this session, because it doesn't seem likely to me that a Republican-led House will be that interested in taking the position, at least optically, from political optics point of view, that they are wanting to hold big tech more to account in terms of censoring misinformation, because that's really the opposite side of the argument they've put themselves on. Now, Scott, Jeff mentioned briefly there the January 6th committee stuff. And now we saw them issue some criminal referrals against former President Donald Trump, which you and I have discussed before, and that they really hold no legal weight. As I say, you have made numerous criminal referrals about things, and I could make one today, and it would have pretty much as much weight. But
Mark, I'm an American. I would hope that my criminal referral would carry much more greater.
Oh no, mine are all against the royal family to Scotland Yard.
I think
Prince
yours
Andrew
would be
and-
almost as valid as mine. Yeah.
Right.
So should we expect from the congressional investigations that are apparently, we have been informed that they are coming down the road, should we expect the similar, almost pointless criminal referrals to also come out of the Republican-led Congress?
Well, that's the smart money bet, I think, Mark. Historically, as I've borne witness to, as a keen observer of these hearings and how they go back and forth, is the Republicans will exhaust people, with the pendulum on the other side of the aisle, just like the Democrats have exhausted people. It's just it's like that quick hit. We're talking about Hunter Biden, crack addiction. It is the crack of politics. It's the quick hit. They get right away. Their social media teams cut together the clip of them yelling at the challenging question, that's asked, and then they cut it up and it goes on their Twitter and YouTube feeds like so-and-so destroys Biden administration person.
Right.
That's what I expect.
Right.
We're like
this
I just wanted to say
weird
quickly.
trick.
Yeah, right. The one weird trick. I just want to say,
I believe that's
right
for
about
medicinal advertising.
Yeah,
Tim. I'm not sure.
It's got a lot
car
of
insurance, especially actually. But Tim's right about calling it, not saying the Hunter Biden laptop investigation. We should be calling it the 10% for the big guy investigation. Who's the big guy?
Well, according to people who would be in the know, Tony Bobulinski, for example, that big guy is obviously Joe Biden, and that may or may not come out. I doubt anybody will ever admit it, even though it's a great nickname, right? It's the big guy.
Call Hunter Biden to testify and demand that he testify who it is, and let's open up his tax returns and make them. That to me is where I think that
that's a real test,
Republicans
isn't it?
Are going to go.
That is a real test.
This is the point.
I think really what's going to, but what's going to come out of this, though, I mean, there won't be any heads rolling because of this. I don't expect Republicans to really do a whole lot except for talk loud and say nothing, in the words of James Brown. I think that we're just going to see those clips, but nothing's really going to happen. Republicans aren't going to actually do anything. Even if they could, I don't think they would, because we've seen this movie before, right? They say all these things to get elected, and then they get into office and they do a lot of talking. They talk very well. They talk. They talk bigly. Great talking. But other than that, we're not going to see much. But it is going to possibly position them better for 2024. So who knows?
So
Right,
here's
Tim,
the point.
Final word for Tim.
Here's the point that we've reached, where the Republicans now, who are motivated by revenge for the last 4 years, to prove that they'll give back to the Democrats what the Democrats gave to them. That's the big purpose of this Congress.
And politically important, I think, too.
But we've
from a
reached
broader perspective, they've got to make them pay.
Well, we've reached the point where the Republicans will probably be forming a committee to investigate the January 6th committee. That's the point, that we have the balkanization of American politics can be exemplified with that.
And that will likely be the only way that Liz Cheney ever makes it back to the lower chamber. Gentlemen, we'll be right back talking about wrapping up 2022 after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh.
Heard it here first.
Join the official conservative safe
You only
space.
did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five.